Namaste, Divine Being. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Cosmic Insight, where I'm going to share the next sort of 8 months to 12 months of Vedic astrology, cosmology, or Jyotish. So, for those of you that know about Jyotish, you will know that, like Vedic or Western astrology, we follow the planets and the different constellations that they're in. And with Vedic astrology, we also look at the alignment of the nakshatras. And the nakshatras are the other 27 constellations that are aligned, that sort of almost, so we say, sit behind the zodiac sign. And these give us more fine, precise kind of predictions or an idea of kind of the energy that's coming up. So I'm going to share that with you as well. I've been meaning to do this video for a little while. The kind of, I guess, demand is always there for the beginning of the Gregorian year. And I'm sort of de-aligning myself from that. And I'm coming more and more into alignment with natural time and natural law and the cycles of nature. So for me, the new year feels like it's more around the springtime. And so it just seems perfect that this is coming out at the time we're moving more towards spring. I just haven't had the opening in my schedule and in my energy field to share this until now. So I'm really excited to share this with you. I'm going to get into it, just now. So I'm going to be referring to some notes that I have here. So please, if you see my eyes wander, or you're wondering what my hand is doing, that's what I'm doing. So I want to start first with Rahu and Ketu. Now, Rahu and Ketu are the north and the south node of the moon, and the energy that these nodes create due to their ecliptical nature and the nature of their orbit around our planet is very, very, very strong. The electromagnetic field of these 2 points is very strong, and the way that they geometrically intersect and align with one another is like off the scale. And what it does is it creates this energy field, shall we say. I'm going to try and kind of put it in a way that's sort of easy to get and understand. Rahu and Ketu work together, okay? They're always working in opposition because they are the 2 nodes, so they're always opposite to each other. Rahu is kind of like the head, and Ketu is like the tail. So Rahu being a little bit more in the head, Ketu a little bit more in the body. All right, it's just kind of really simplistic way of kind of seeing it. And so it really sort of almost sort of mirrors the human experience. And another thing that's mirrored with Rahu and Ketu and impacts us greatly is its relationship to the karma of humanity, or the collective karma, the collective trauma, the collective dense burdened energy that we've been accumulating. And this is, of course, related to our collective consciousness. So the energy of Rahu and Ketu kind of help to create this karmic vortex. The karmic whirlpool helps us to cultivate that, helps us to really generate and cultivate the energy to help us work with our karma as individuals, but also as a collective. And I guess what I'm sharing with you today is more generalized. This is more about what's in store for us as a planet. If you want to understand how this affects or influences you on an individual level, you absolutely have to come and get a reading from myself or another Jyotishi, because these are way too generalized for you to know how it's going to come in and impact you. And that's going to depend on your birth chart. That's going to depend how the energies are already imprinted, ingrained within you, so that when I tell you what Rahu and Ketu are doing now, you know if that's going to affect you, in a helpful way, in a not helpful way. You're going to understand where the potentials are because of your level of consciousness, where you're at right now, and a whole number of other factors. Okay, so The other thing I want to say as well, I know I'm cutting in here, but this is a non-dual system of astrology. So it's not about good or bad. Like, Rahu is bad, Ketu is good. Like when the energies are in this particular part or this particular zodiac, or they're aligned to this nakshatra, it's a good thing for you, it's a bad thing for you. It's not about that. We're really moving away from that and understanding the higher and the lower frequencies, the different spectrum of experience with these energies. And it completely depends on where you're at as an individual. So if your energy state is refined, if you're able to self-regulate well, if you're grounded and stable and maybe already working with certain practices, then it's likely that you're going to be able to absorb some of these energies a little bit more easily, and it's not going to come in and trigger maybe some of the more lower tendency characteristics of these energies. So it's really about where you're at individually and what the imprints are on you from birth, that determines how you're going to individually react with each of these. So I just wanted to add that. So going back to the current transits for us all, how it's impacting on the planet, Rahu and Ketu is like holding us really right now so beautifully as we journey through our collective karma, because Rahu and Ketu are both in the zodiac signs where they're most at home. Okay, so right now Rahu is in Taurus and Ketu is in Scorpio. So what that means is that they're in their homes, they're in places where they feel most comfortable, exalted. Their energy is super clear and super fine. So they're like a force field that is really steering a frequency, a particular frequency, steering us into, journeying into our karma with the clearest energy, with the clearest, most potent, strong energy that Rahu and Ketu can be sending to us. Not a muddled energy, not a confused energy, but like a really clear and strong energy that they are beaming down on us as we're going through this. Now, it's been surprising for some people who've been like, oh, well, I would have assumed that Rahu and Ketu would just actually be in a really difficult position, or something's going on with them, because you can see the collective karma of the planet right now is all up. It's all risen to the surface. All the muck, all the discomfort, all of this weird stuff is all come up. But that's the working of, these really, really clear energies coming from Rahu and Ketu, who are really in charge of creating this karmic vortex around us and supporting us through that process. So that was really, really, really struck me at how much we are supported and just how clear that energy is. But if we're not careful and we don't work with these energies, then we can get really stuck in this karmic whirlpool. That's always something to be really aware of, is you can get sucked into the Rahu Ketu karma whirlpool if you're not careful. It really requires working with energy fundamentally, particularly Ketu. And Ketu being in Scorpio. Scorpio is like this fierce, ferocious energy, this fearless energy that's just going to come in and just going to give you what you need in a strong, it's like the sting of the Scorpio. It just comes in, it does this thing, and you're kind of paralyzed. And it's a little bit like where we're at with humanity right now, and we're actually coming towards the end of this phase of Rahu and Ketu being in Taurus and Scorpio. We've got another 2 months of this really clear energy, and then they move off into other zodiacs. So we've got 2 months to really harness this clear energy. But just know that that's affecting us on an individual level. If we are not really harnessing and working with this energy, if we're not recognizing that really everything is happening for the highest and greatest good, that we're in the best possible position right now, and we don't work on our energy to stabilize that, if we get caught up in our Rahu head, we get caught up with the intellectual debates on the jabs and get sucked into the conspiracies and that aren't really conspiracies, but into the narratives and all these different sub-narratives. If we get caught up in all of that, we can really become become unself-regulated. Okay, we can kind of come off of our track and get stuck in this whirlpool and kind of miss the point that there isn't really anything we need to do except for just recognize this is coming up, and we're going to be with it, witness it, hold space for it, and just know that this is all a natural process of what we're coming through right now. So Rahu's going to move out of Taurus and it's going to move into Aries, and then K2 is going to move out of Scorpio and into Libra. Okay, so this is going to bring some beautiful new opportunities. They're not necessarily the most comfortable of positions for those planets, but nevertheless, we're going to welcome in this new fresh energy that's going to come and take us into a new zone. So in 2 months, when Rahu goes into Aries, there's actually a lot of Martian energy in the next 8 months, really, for us coming to Earth. A lot of Martian energy. So Aries has a lot of this Martian heated, headstrong kind of energy that's going to be coming in a couple of months when Rahu goes into Aries. And we see Aries again like a field of energy, but it's like the ram kind of pushing into things. It gets charged up. It's very anxious. It's got a lot of angst. And this energy can be quite restless and quite impulsive, an uneven flow of energy, and very like fluctuates a lot. You know, it can really have an impact on our self-regulation. So we've really got to come into line with this Aries energy, but it's also the energy of kind of new beginnings. You know, this is where we can also start afresh. You know, the cycle begins. We're back in Aries again. You know, so there's a bit of a double edge to this, and I feel like, you know, we definitely have these two narratives. Definitely have these two narratives right now running. You know, we have the, you know, for those that the veil, you know, is not being lifted and they're choosing not to see beyond the veil. It's like kind of being stuck in the narrative of like what is being fed to, you know, the mainstream narrative of what's going on. And then you've got this other timeline of really those of us looking under the sheet, under the veil, seeing things a little bit more for what they are, starting to kind of get, you know, the sort of bigger and broader picture here. And these are two very narratives, and it's kind of like Aries is going to come in and it's going to affect us differently depending on what narrative we're at, you know. And so we've got to really come into like an awareness of that there are these two narratives and where we are right now, and understand that, you know, there is this also this strong energy that wants to come and push through and transform things. But that Taurus energy, which was coming through a little bit more smoothly, even though it was the bull in the china shop, it was a really good energy for Rahu. Now coming into Aries, it's like it's got the double backing of the bull in the china shop from Taurus, but now we've just got the bull, you know, with Aries. We've got the ram really pushing and wanting to butt its head and butt its head and butt its head until something changes and something moves, okay? But like I said, there's a lot of charge and there's a lot of energy behind that, and we can really utilize that to move into the next phase. But if we're not careful, it's going to kind of take us, it's going to scatter us, and we're going to feel like we're getting, you know, stopping and starting charged up to move towards something else, and then it, you know, doesn't work, so then we charge into something else. It's like we need to really slow down with this energy and really kind of understand how to harness this energy. Again, it's all about working with energy. So important. And with K2, you know, is again moving from Scorpio, where it was in a beautiful position and that was really supporting humanity. And now it's moving into Libra, and the Libra zone, you know, actually more towards the end of the year is where we're going to start to see this balancing and reform and recalibration that Libra brings. That's going to start to come in and feed in. So, you know, it's really going to help to consolidate the last 2 years of this pandemic situation, because we're going to start to see the balance. We're going to start to see this K2, which is like the body, it's the energies, the kundalini that we've been cultivating, and those of us that have been very compassionately like looking at all of this, and not having to pick sides and not having to get into arguments and being sitting very quietly and watching. This is where all those people and all of that energy that's going to be cultivated is going to beautifully be able to come out in terms of balance, recalibration, reform. We're going to see a lot of legal action being taking place, and actually going to be very surprised just how compassionate that's going to be coming through, and just how smoothly that's all going to take place. But yeah, we're gonna really show one another what balance and harmony is, and how that really does prevail, because it is a natural human nature. This is what we're here to do, and it's taken thousands of years of suffering to get to this point, but this is the key point. Everything has had to happen in the way that it's happened. All of this shit has had to come up, and we've had to see it and watch it and bear witness to it. There's nothing else that we can do. It's had to come up, because until everybody sees it, how weird and wonky and dysregulated and nasty it is, until everybody sees it, we're not going to be able to take everybody on this journey. And the bodhisattva vow is that we all keep incarnating until all of us rise together, until our frequency all rises together. We can't leave anyone behind. So this point is so crucial, because we're utilizing the technology of this yog, Dwapara Yog, that we are in. It's one of the 4 main epochs. We are using and harnessing the technology. Now we're going to flip it and use it and harness it for the highest and greatest good, because up till now it's been a lot of technology being used not for the highest and greatest good. So yeah, this is really exciting. Okay, what else do I want to say? So with regards to Rahu and Ketu, okay, they also have nakshatras aligned to them. So going back to Rahu, sorry, I'm just jumping about, but Rahu has been in Kritika for the last for a few months, and it's there for another 4 months, okay? And then it goes into Bharani for 8 months. Now, what's really special about this nakshatra that it's aligned to right now is that it's partly in the Pleiades, the star system of the Pleiades, which, many of you out there have connected our star ancestors and our star friends, our star family, with the Pleiades. And the Pleiades right now really is holding space for planet Earth. There are a lot of reports of the beings from Pleiades really supporting us right now at this time. And so to be in alignment with them, of course, at this time, nothing's happening by chance, right? As we are finally, planet Earth, after thousands of years of torture and oppression, is finally coming into its, into this next part of its journey. So yeah, that's super powerful. And there's such a sharp, strong razor-like energy, coming in from the star system. It is bringing out our deepest truth, and really wants us to appreciate nature and beauty and magic and the arts. And there's a real beautiful feminine energy also here with it. It's such an important energy that's been coming in, a very strong energy that's in the background. It's really been helping to generate this kundalini, this presence of the Rahu Ketu energy, and holding space for us here on the planet. And so we enjoy that for another few months, and then Rahu moves into alignment with Bharani, and Bharani is also very creative, compassionate, beautiful energy too. And symbols actually a downward facing triangle, which is, it's symbolizing female reproduction. So this is where we're going to start to birth, yeah? And again, this is aligning to the end of the year when we go into, and when Rahu or Ketu goes into Libra, Rahu will be aligned to Bharani, bringing in that new birthing, that female energy of birthing in these new codes, this new earth that we are in, with creativity and this passion is behind it. There's so much supporting us cosmically right now. And then K2 right now is in Vishaka. And it's going to be here in a little while. I don't have Vishaka for another 8 months until around October. And then it shifts, and when it shifts again, it's shifting into Swati, and again around the same time that Ketu's going into Libra, and Rahu's aligning to its nakshatra that I just spoke about before. Sorry, the name is Bharni. K2 is aligning with Swati, and Swati again is all about balance. It's all about power and balance, and being self regulated and self controlled. The emphasis is on dharma and right action, taking right action, and being in our purposeful path. And that's coming in 8 months. So it's just, wow, I'm just like so blown away. And right now, K2 is aligned with Vishaka, which is all about our purpose and being really courteous souls and really working together and devoting ourselves, being patient and devoting ourselves to this journey, and then Swati comes in and it's going to be all about the balance, with Libra as well. So, oh my God, it's going to be amazing end of this year. So I want to also share a little bit about Saturn and Jupiter because they're two of the other big planets before I finish. So Saturn is very much about going inwards. It's about the inner teacher and finding the guru within and taking the lessons from within. And Jupiter is more of like expressive, creative growth energy. It's more kind of going outwards. Okay, so two very different energies, and I love to read them side by side. Okay. So we're kind of looking at this within the context of Rahu and Ketu, really holding that space for karma evolution on the planet. Now, Saturn's in Capricorn for another 14 months before it goes into Aquarius, okay, for a year and a half. Now, Capricorn works really hard for the earth, okay? The energy that is coming from this pairing of Saturn in Capricorn has the capacity to take us inwards and learn what is there to be learned, and to really stick at it, to listen closely and carefully and bring our wisdom and knowing out. This pairing is really working for us. We're learning a lot about ourselves and humanity, about the bigger picture, and what we need to do together as a humanity. So we're really going inwards and cultivating, like those of us that have, really chosen to sit and bear witness and watch and see what's happening and trust in this process. Also we're cultivating this like new way, new ideas, how are we going to work together? But what we're also seeing is the ugly, difficult, sharp aspect of this, that it's really triggering our shame and our pain and making us want to forget about it and disassociate from it and go back to our old ways, because it's so painful and so shameful how we've been, what we've been like as humanity. It's been so painful and shameful, that it's like we've got to turn away from that. So it's being really, really present with this Saturn energy is so important. Going inwards, like therapy is so important at this time, guys and gals and people, like having a therapist that you can go, having friends, having a sangha community that you can be in and be yourself and speak with about what is going on internally and what you're learning. Because when we articulate this, it really helps us to step into it, and acknowledge it at a fundamental level. So Saturn is now moving into Dhanishta, the nakshatra of Dhanishta. It's aligning to for a whole year, and this is the nakshatra that I was born into. It's my moon, actually. It's aligned to my moon, and yeah, it's aligned to two beautiful animals, the dolphin and the female lion. So there is like this intelligent, ferocious energy coming in from Jupiter, where it's giving us insight, power to listen to the truth, our truth, to understand the narratives, the different narratives that are going out there, starting to really be able to discern between them. And this also is about cultivating spiritual depth and connecting the occult wisdom and occult knowledge that's been left behind to us, starting to connect those dots and really, really apply this knowledge in some way to moving forward. So it's a time for actually studying the sacred, indigenous, and occult wisdom, and it's a time for finding our spiritual depth. It's a time for gaining that insight, and it's a time for really cultivating that, all of that inside. Okay, because as we then express that, which is where Jupiter comes in, as we grow from that and we express that, this is where we've got to be really mindful about how we're doing that. We don't want to create any more karma on the planet. We want to do this compassionately and kindly. Okay, so at the moment Jupiter is in Aquarius, and it's challenging for it to be here because this is showing us the material traps that we've fallen into. But also, there's a lot of great insight to learn from this. So, as we evolve as a humanity and grow, we've got to also understand how we've been consuming and how this is impacting our earth and how this is influencing our psyche and our relationship with one another, and how this has created trauma within us and how that's impacting how we move forward. All of this stuff, comparing ourselves to others, having, not having, lack consciousness, scarcity consciousness, abundance consciousness, all of this material stuff that's impacted us, that's just added extra layers of stuff that we've got to work on. And as these natural energies are coming in, it's all coming up because we're here to work on it. So this is why it may have felt really challenging for many of us in terms of the material stuff that we're starting to look at in our lives. A lot of you found that you've wanted to let go of stuff, sell things, go minimalist, not and really really shift your sense of what abundance is and money and all that kind of stuff. It's just this great longing and desire within you to do it. That is the Aquarius energy, and that's the Jupiter energy, wanting that to be very much a part of how you are in the world. So Jupiter is coming out of the Bisha nakshatra and aligning now into Purva Bhadrapada for about another year. Okay, so this nakshatra is also about spiritual advancement, but it's about refining. It's about refining that material plane, okay? And it's about utilizing our material plane for the highest and greatest good, okay? It's about utilizing the material plane to forge our own path and to do good on the planet. So it's being in Aquarius, Jupiter being in Aquarius has kind of brought us out, brought up all of that material stuff, karma and trauma for us to look at and sort through. And now this nakshatra is taking us into a new relationship with the material plane for the next year. So this is a great time to get your house in order, to start changing the kind of clothes you wear, getting sustainable with what you eat and your lifestyle, making better choices about how what you buy and how you live your lives, the chemicals that you use, how we're treating the earth, and this is all having a massive impact because all of this stuff that I've been sharing with you is all weaving in together. It's all interwoven. It's how we are with the planet is a direct reflection of where we are with ourselves, and that's directly impacting how we work through our karma. Because if we're not working through our experience with the planet and really coming into a deeper communion with the planet and being kinder to the planet and thinking differently about how we consume, if we're not doing that, then we're going to be blocked. We're going to find it that also relates to how we are relating to ourselves and how we're going to relate to each other. All of this stuff is connected. Okay, so I've kind of shared all of the content and there's so much there, and I guess what I'm being left with is this sense that in the next 6 months is really crucial for us to be working through a lot of really deep stuff, because in around about, I don't know, certainly after about August time, we're going to be ramping up into recalibration, into balance, into legal action, into compassion, real compassion-led leadership as things start to flip, do a complete U-turn on planet Earth. This whole pandemic, all of it, what we're seeing, the experience of it, and how it's being utilized to coerce and manipulate people, all of this is going to come back into right relation. It's going to be dealt with fairly, and it's going to show us, we're going to be able to see by that point just what we've done, what we've created together, what we need to do to rebalance it. And it's hard to see that now. It's like, oh, it's so messy and it's so painful. It's hard to see that. But just remember, all we have to do is witness. We don't need to push. We don't need to try and convince anyone. We don't need to do any of that. It's all naturally happening. People are naturally coming into their awareness because the cosmic energies are allowing for it, are supporting it. This is, we're connected. We're our nature. We're in nature. It's not me just thinking this on my own. This is we're all, everything is interacting together within nature to make all of this possible. So relax, calm yourself, chill. Make sure you have a great therapist. Make sure you have a beautiful sangha around you. Make sure you have opportunities to do inward journeying and to move your body and to work with energy. It's so, so, so important. And please, 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 please get in touch with me if there's anything I can support you with. Book a free discovery call if you want some support. And, oh, I'm still here. If you want to journey deeper and deeper into yourself and go where you've never gone before, and you want to learn to hold a space for yourself like never before, so that you can hold space ultimately for this planet and for everyone else in these coming months with all of this amazing stuff that's going on, check out my space holding